It's like you need to have the mentality that everything is going to fail if you do not close, if you do not do this business. And that's really how to get yourself motivated.
Everything that I do could serve other people, and I can like be a part of that process. Like it's the greatest opportunity.
You have no choice at the beginning. You're broke. You have no money. You have to figure it out. You don't have a choice to do it. It's later on now when you have the money that, oh, now I can go and waste it.
And I realized, like, wait, rabbis are saying like life-changing stuff but not getting paid. How do I say life-changing stuff and get paid?
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Resilient Riches. Today, we're going to talk to you about how to get coached, how to be coached, and how to build your business to the next stage using different variational techniques that can actually get you to the next level. So today we decided, let's find some like Rabbi or something like that. This guy, Jacob Rupp out of California, that actually has been coaching coaches how to be coaches. So I'm sorry for the tongue twisters. And also does executive coaching, getting people to the next level. And that's really what our goal for this podcast is.
Why was a rabbi coming into this?
I don't know, because he's a former rabbi. So
he was a former rabbi, not currently. I haven't been paid to be a rabbi for quite a while, but I was.
You should have been paid anyway.
I don't think that's one of the requirements to call yourself a rabbi.
Spirituality.
There's plenty of people that call themselves a rabbi that don't make one penny.
That's true. I actually have a degree in whatever you want to call it in rabbi stuff. But
yeah, you could have. I don't know. Are you like an imam now? Like, what happened to the rabbi thing? That's
Could
really
be.
why you weren't getting paid enough, so you decided to start a religion, Scientology. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have done recently. But thank you so much for coming on. Welcome, everybody. We're gonna have a lot of action items on best techniques and specific techniques to help you grow to the next stage, and also have some fun doing it. And also, if you're looking for male modeling, Jacob Rupp is available for that. He's got
true.
A strong jaw.
Yes, he could be like a Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
See him like.
This is going well so far. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Jacob, give us your quick
Batman
background, and then let's get right into it.
Yeah, Batman is great. So yeah, my background, I always, I always kind of give credit to, I found the girl. I used to be like super fat. Since you brought up the physique thing, I was super fat. I always felt very uncomfortable. I was always friend zoning myself. I met this girl for some reason. She was super into the fact that I was Jewish. And then she was Jewish. She didn't know a little bit much about it. She's Hungarian, born in Hungary. I was like the cool Jewish guy. So we connected. We started dating. She decided to become Orthodox. I was like, oh God, please no. And then I was going to be a Reform rabbi. Fast forward, I ended up becoming an Orthodox rabbi, and not just becoming Orthodox, but deciding I was going to be an Orthodox rabbi. The churn was pretty quick. I wound up finding myself on UCLA not 3 years after I left UC San Diego, and I had that career there for about 8 years. Then I had about a decade of a midlife crisis where I ran out of money, and I ended up hiring a coach. And I was like, someone's got to help me. And I realized, like, wait, rabbis are saying like life-changing stuff but not getting paid. How do I say life-changing stuff and get paid? And that had me launch my executive coaching company. After I had built that up to making more, thank God, more money in a month than I was making a year as a rabbi, then I was like, okay, I got to start teaching other people. What's that? I was actually fairly well compensated as a rabbi, at least 24 years old when I got started. I did get a little bit more tight after the kids grew in the private schools. So that's my life in a nutshell. Now I help people build out their coaching and consulting companies, and I love it.
All right, so let's talk about let's give information for free, because now you're back to the stage.
Absolutely.
So let's go to the basics. Somebody says, hey, you know what? I'm really, really good at executive coaching, or I really enjoy nutritional coaching, any of these coaching concepts. How do people get started to like actually getting that to a point where they can make money on it?
It's such a great question. So as I'm sure, and again, I don't know so much about what you guys rock and roll in terms of your what you do with financial coaching. You had to start with a vision, right? So what do we actually want to accomplish? What are our goals? So again, there's a lot of people that coach and don't make any money, and we call that a passion project. That's not actually a business. A business has to make money. So I always try to figure out, hey, is this something you want to do for fun on the side, as a kindness, whatever it would be, or do you actually want to treat it like a business? And I explain to them that most people that try to build coaching businesses will make about 30 grand a year. I don't know I know where you guys live. That's not enough money for anyone to survive. So I explain to them that in order for you to actually make this into a venture that will allow you to actually keep doing it, you have to have a model that will allow you to build a a business. And so that's kind of how the conversation usually starts, which is how much do you want this to make? And believe it or not, talking to people that have been doing this for years, most people have, you guys would believe it, have no idea how much money they need to or want to make and have any idea how to actually get there. So that's kind of where the conversation starts for me.
And then, okay, so now they set up their goals. I want to make $300,000 doing my coaching business.
It's actually interesting. I was on a networking call earlier today, and there was a woman on there that's coaching, and like she does one thing was like auto hypnosis was for a month, and I think that just falls right into your category because she's probably, it didn't sound like she was like, she says, I'm bad at follow up. I don't really know what's, and I could see she could be making 30,000, or like some of these like nutritions, like that woman that she was just selling like the herbs and the nature and all that stuff. To me, it's all in the Reiki girl. Seems like it all falls into that same category.
Well, that was really what I found, and I thank God I was very like unique in the sense I had two like. God's been very, very kind to me in the sense that like I don't really know how I can do anything else. So I've gotten set up to be able to do stuff I'm decent at. And so as someone that had no idea how to run a business, I started coaching people that ran businesses. And so I learned the basic fundamentals of running a business. And so since I know how to do it, and I was
what are those basic fundamentals of running a business?
Yeah. So, I mean, basic fundamental of running a business is going to come down to like, what are the projections? What do we actually want to, how much money are we looking to create? Who are we selling to? What's our sales process and what's delivery? And it's pretty straightforward. Again, it's like getting in good shape. It's like, it's pretty easy to tell people how to do it. All of the complexity comes in all of the details, but it's like, as I had one of my clients said early, it's like learn how to sell $1 to one person one time. Once you have that, you actually have a business. Now the rest of it is just trying to figure out scale, which is just, the different components of it.
It's actually interesting, but the underlying economics have to make sense also. You can't go out and sell something for $1 that costs you $1.50, or like the pennies that cost 3 pennies to make.
Okay,
the fundamentals. He said 3 pennies.
Wow.
The fundamentals have to make sense also. The dynamic has to make sense.
Well, that's where I like lost my mind in like, why is not everybody doing this? Because overwhelmingly we're seeing more and more people have tons of information. And again, for me, like as a rabbi or trying to figure out what my next steps would be, like, how would I feed my family? The craziest thing about coaching is I had a ton of knowledge, and to start a coaching or consulting business, all it costs is your time. I was, again, I don't know if the numbers actually matter, but I was making about $60,000 a month, and my expenses were basically only, I had a VA that I was paying probably $2,000 a month for. There was no supply, there was no real estate. I was working, I had Zoom, it was just like, it was nothing. And so the crazy thing is, for a lot of people, if they understand how to build it profitably, like it's an incredibly, like there's a ton of value in the business and just in the value of what we already know.
Yeah, well, what I like that you're saying, and to slow, because you're a fast talker, so I want to just slow us down.
Yeah, I'm going to slow down too.
Yeah, you're excited.
I like a fast talker.
I know you like a fast talker because you're
fast
trying to get.
Good.
He's trying to get.
York, so we
my dad will host. My dad will host people for like lunch. My parents will host people for lunch. My dad's like 8 minutes in. He's like, "All right, get out!" Like it's. Yeah. I gotta get.
I'm the same way I go to bed.
Didn't you just take a nap like 8 seconds ago?
I have friends of ours that will come over to us. They would come over only to lunch to our house because they know that I'm going to kick them out after a certain time, and they know I'm not going to schlep on the whole freaking afternoon. Yeah. And then they're going to get out of there in a reasonable time, and I'll make sure it moves.
Well, I'll show up at people's houses with like a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and I'll just like change halfway through a meal and go take a nap on the couch if things get quiet. So yeah, it's always good to be prepared.
You got it.
That's why I like to host, because then I can go upstairs to my bed and leave them downstairs. They can stay.
Does your wife had conversations with you? Because like my wife was like, "Hey, I know that you just literally took a nap, and it'd be nice if you would either kick these people out or stay around."
My wife could stay there the whole day. She could
see.
Be there all night and talk to the same people on and on and on.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a friend come over that's very, very long-winded, and he came over in the morning. I was supposed to go to the gym, so I just left like in mid-sentence. I just like walked away. And then he asked my wife like 5 minutes later, he's like, "Where'd Yair go?" He goes, "Oh, Yair's at the gym." He goes, "But we were talking." I was like, yeah, Yair went to the gym. And then came back. He's like, "Did you just have like a full workout in the time that we were talking?" I was like, yeah.
And what were you saying? Let me catch up.
Right.
There's no value in the conversation. I'm sorry, Mike. Very boring guy. And I tell him all the time. But all right, so I want to break down this point of people do not need to invest a significant amount of money to make a significant amount of money. It's like a new concept. We have intellectual capital that can be displayed or offered to other people. The difference is you need to have that intellectual capital packaged. And what you're talking about is creating a package for people and actually creating something for themselves that they can do for others. And it can really build a life out of that way. I mean, it's amazing. How do people take that intellectual capital that they have? They know they have a business, and then they're trying to actually package it. What are the stages to do that? Let's say the 5 stages to success that you would break down over a 2-month period.
It's funny. I did not, just for the record, for the listener, I did not prompt you to ask me that question, right? Happens to be, I have a 5-step process that I already, again, it was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Set it up beforehand. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell people there's 5 steps, right? The first step is that you have to be committed, because if you actually want to make money, just like if you actually want to get in shape, just like if you actually want to do anything, there has to be commitment. Greatness does not happen on accident. Nothing of value. Again, we just had the Super Bowl. Like, no one did that by accident. There was tons of planning. There was tons of commitment. Both teams went in planning on winning. Again, granted, some people might say that that's not the case, but there's a level of commitment that people had that going into it, right? So you need to be committed.
Said that in his post interview, he says, "Oh, we didn't just come and land in New Orleans the other day and hope that it would go well. We've prepared for this. We are committed to this. We've worked on this the whole year. We've worked on this. We're committed."
Yeah. And I'll talk to lots of people who are thinking about coaching or thinking about consulting. It's like, cool. And they're like, well, I'm not sure, maybe. And I'm like, you're not ready to actually get started, because once you get once the commitment happens, again, it's like marriage or anything else. Like when the difficulties come up, you're going to be out unless you're actually committed to making it happen. So start with commitment. The second thing is mindset. So I cannot tell you how many people I work with who are in the space of helping others whose mindset is in the gutter around who would pay me, who could afford me, am I good enough, this, that, the other thing, what about fear of failure? Again, what if this doesn't work? I've seen a lot of, again, I don't know who all of the audience is, but a lot of people, and especially in the Jewish world, have tremendous fear of success. Well, if I make money, what does that mean about me? Is God going to stop, helping me if I'm not poor? And again, I'm like, you train people on like abundance, and you have like a really terrible mindset around that. They're like, yeah, well, and I'm like, okay, we got to work on that. Because again, it's like anything else. Like if you're always the product. So if you suffer from this stuff, it's going to get like pushed into all the things that you do. So you need to make a commitment. You have to work on your mindset. And then it's really 3 things. You need clarity on who you're helping and what you're helping with. You need to have a process for client enrollment. Again, most coaches, I would say all of them, and especially everyone that's broke, does not understand the fundamentals of how to actually sell. And again, coaching and selling are 2 different skill sets. Coaching is what happens after people paid. Everything up until then, you're not coaching them, or you shouldn't if you want to make money. You have to know how to run an effective process for client enrollment. And then finally, it's delivery. Most all of my business as of right now, and I've been in business for a while, is all more or less word of mouth or referral. And so you have to actually deliver valuable outcomes to what people hire you for if you want to stay in business. And if you can do that, every one client you bring in could be 3 clients in reality, which could be many more, because people are just referring friends and family. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, let me go back to number 4. When you say client enrollment, you really mean selling, right? You really mean just getting clients in the door. Like,
well, yeah.
Or explaining to them how it's advantageous to them and bringing them in. You don't mean like the actual just enrolling them and the technical.
Our society is so anti the word selling. It's almost a dirty word. So for me, when I got started in my career, again, I tell everybody, if you want to make money, you ask questions. If you want someone else to make money off of you, you talk. So, and it's such a fun, everyone's like, well, Jacob, I literally today, so Jacob, what's my pitch? What's my outline? What's my script when I get on calls with people? And I'm like, if you don't want to make money, I'll give you a script. If you want to learn how to actually listen and how to actually ask questions, that's how you're going to make the money. He's like, oh my God, but I don't know what to ask him. I'm like, yeah, because you never pay attention to people, so you don't know what to ask. But like, be like, and I'm not joking about this. So few people are actually aware of how to make observations and how to have conversations, how to ask questions, and how to listen. That like, it makes sense that it's very hard for them to make money. There's no actual. So the short answer is yes, it's sales. but I just opted to take that word out of the vocabulary after I love sales and I'm a big fan of it, but I took it out of the vocabulary because so many people have that like scary thing to it. So I just figured, let's call it client enrollment. Like everyone says, well, who needs my help? And I'm like, well, what do you help with? And it's like, I don't know. I help married people communicate better. I'm like, cool. How many people who are married need help communicating? And they're like, all of them. I'm like, great. So I'm going to turn you loose on the street in front of 50 people that are married. Can you get any clients? They'll be like, no. I'm like, great. So your problem isn't like who needs your help, because everybody does. It's how do I turn someone that needs my help into someone that's giving me money so I can't help them?
Exactly. And that's the way it is for every
yeah,
everything.
Right.
Well, it's recognizing the pain points, and then from the pain points, and you can create solutions.
Well, that's what he's saying.
And then you can create.
It's hearing the pain points, because you're, again, same thing for your guys' business. Like you need to hear me say what my problem is for you to be able to say, hey, I can help you with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. So you get these clients on board, but the big part of it is actually also showing value. So let's say you're like, we hear a lot of these life coaches and like financial coaches. I'm going to financially coach and financial you.
Procrastination coach.
Yeah, procrastination coach. Don't procrastinate. Give me money quickly so you don't have to procrastinate any longer. That's really the game. And then, but like you see all these things. I actually said to this one guy, he was like, I'm a nutritionist. I was like, you're like 300 pounds. He goes, it's not what the outside matters. It's about what
you're like, oh, for God's sake, please shoot me in the face.
It's your body, not the inside.
Oh, yeah, Yair made one nutritionist that was sitting here at the office cry one time.
Oh, I should have built it. I should have built her.
Where's your certificate from? Where are you from?
She's telling people she's a life coach. I was like, you don't have a life coach certificate? She goes, no. She goes, well, I don't need one. I'm a life coach. I was like, you're not anything. And okay. Whatever. But so what I really like that you're saying.
Just by the way, for the people listening, I've personally spent over $250,000 on coaching, and I've never hired anyone that has a certificate.
I will
just to put out there.
I'll send you this person.
Sweet.
She'll rip you off. You're welcome.
I'm not. No, my point is, from my perspective, and again, like I just, like you said, like the fat nutritionist, like, again, unless the goal is like, to be like a sumo wrestler, like I look at the outcome. And so for me, I always, when I'm talking to someone who could potentially coach me, it's like, number one, have you done the thing that I want to do? And are you coming from a similar situation where you can help? Again, it's very easy, theoretically speaking, that if I remember, I used to speak to people who, I'd be like, man, how did you spend so much time building your business? Like, how did you survive? I'm like, oh, my spouse bankrolled me, or my parents bankrolled me for the first 5 years. I'm like, great. Okay. I can't replicate that. Or it's like, oh, I was the first guy on YouTube. It's like, okay, well, I can't do that either. So it's like,
it's not a business, when they get bankrolled, that's not, that's not, you don't have the fundamentals of a proper business that, is making money in that.
Yes, exactly. Right. So again, for me, it's much more, have you done what I want to do? That's the first step. And do you understand my circumstance enough so that I think that you can actually help me where I am? Those are the two things I need. Certifications kind of I don't want to, if I make a certification.
I agree with you. She needs certifications. Only because she was just
anyway, I'm sorry.
She was, she was like stealing from people.
I'm sorry I brought her up.
That's bad. We don't want to steal.
But that's the deal. So you build this, let's say you build this coaching program. The big problem with a lot of these coaches, and as you said, they have to be committed, is that they burn out and that they want to get to a point where they have automated coaching and they have online courses and people buying online courses and they don't want to have to work so hard. But the problem with that is that online courses get stale, and it's really a one-on-one connection when it comes to coaching. People can't just watch a bunch of videos and they're going to be super successful. So how are you breaking down that model to make sure that it's more passive and that there is some scalability with your coaching instead of just trading your time for money?
Awesome. I love it. So again, everything has to go along a continuum. Again, if I'm telling you I want to be generating, I want my investments to be making, 10 million a year, and so far I've invested $5, you're like, okay, well, let's try to get you, let's get you investing a little bit more than that. So the idea is everyone runs to passive because it's easy. It's like, I'd also love to just passively make billions of dollars and not do anything or invest anything. Like, of course, I'd love it. The reality is that's not how the world works. So it's a very straightforward model. Right? You should be getting to $10,000 to $20,000 a month over month in your one-on-one before we start talking about you building out some kind of a group. Why? Because as you do the one-on-one work, you're going to validate who you're helping, what the actual process looks like, and what some of the ideal outcomes would be from the people you're working with. Once you've got that nailed in, and also you're building your own skills and competence in the actual coaching, then the next model that I've seen work is, rather than some passive thing, which again, by the time you've spent enough money building the sales system for that, you will have gone broke long ago in the process. What I've seen is the next step is what I like to call like a hybrid or high ticket group, which is basically you have some curriculum. There's usually a group component to you coaching a bunch of different people. And then there could be some one-on-one that happens as well, which might not have to be done by you. But just that model alone, I've personally worked with people who are making between, let's see, $2 and $4 million a month just with that model. So again, that model scales beautifully. Again, someone that wants to like sell millions of dollars off of like some passive income thing, unless your platform is absolutely freaking massive, it's a pipe dream, and I've not seen it work.
Yeah, it's very, very hard.
Just to say that flat out,
I just want
Grant Cardone tried to sell me a $50 course. I did not buy it. Had Grant Cardone or someone that he really worked well, that again, if Grant Cardone wanted to sell me an hour of his time, I would have paid $50,000 for it. So he couldn't sell me a $50 thing on auto repair, but if he had gone to do the one-on-one thing, I would have paid a lot more.
Yeah, did you hear that oh yeah, you showed me actually that Gary Brecka is actually suing him because of the 10x and he stole the 10x thing, which is pretty crazy. And I like Gary Brecka a lot. Yeah. Grant Cardone is a very different type of guy. So you build this coaching platform, and now you're ready to take it to the next level, and now you're ready to take it to the next stage. But the problem is burnout. How do you prevent burnout? Because with coaching, you are required to be on. I mean, people are paying you a significant amount of money to do coaching. How are you eliminating the burnout mentality?
So burnout is usually if you don't, again, happens to be, I think artists and entrepreneurs, like one of the things I always tell people is you have to coach around things that you care about and with people that you're excited to work with. Right. And if that's not the case, you will burn out really, really quickly. I found that there's a lot of bandwidth if you're doing exciting work with exciting people, that people would actually do it for fun. And the getting paid part is kind of like a bonus of the job. So usually burnout is because something is going wrong or they're not making money. You know what I'm saying? Then I'm like tired and burned out. But if I'm making good money, I'm doing impactful work, and I like doing the work with the people I'm doing it, I probably won't burn out. But let's say theoretically speaking, I'm so packed that I'm like, that I'm getting tired and I can't do it all. So then you have an opportunity. By this time you've built such a profitable business, you hire for the stuff that you don't like doing. That's just any business has that same challenge.
Well, that's the key with scale. That's the whole thing. It's like when you get to the point that you find out what's actually not being effective for you and what you don't enjoy, you start hiring for those pieces. I think my dad likes to hire for all pieces. What pieces do you not like to hire for is the question. You don't like to spend money.
I don't like to spend money. That's the first principle. But again, as well, we've hired people to do a lot of the grunt work that we don't want to do, all of the data entry stuff that we need to do, the follow up. For our business, follow up is key. We got to touch people 3 to 5 times sometimes before they'll respond, and that could take a long time. Yeah, that could take a lot of, and that's just to set up a system. We've been able to set up now a system that it does it. A lot of it is automated, and a lot of it is working on the side. But it's exhausting. It can be very tiring to get a no 4 or 5 times. Why am I going to the 6th time if you've already told me no 5 times? But that's just sometimes the way it is.
So I always tell people if they don't hire you, the problems don't usually go away. It's just that you need to be top of mind at the right time when the problem is bad enough that they're like, oh God, I got to get this solved.
Yeah, that's the main thing. It's like there's no concept is like really scary for people. And we talked about it on last week's podcast with Terry Fossum. It's like you need to have the mentality that everything is going to fail if you do not close, if you do not do this business. And that's really how to get yourself motivated, that like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my house if I don't sell, if I don't win, if I don't succeed, if I don't do what my goals are accomplishing. And that's really a big part of the motivation piece. So Jacob, you've had such an interesting career between like being like a Christian rabbi and then becoming an Orthodox rabbi. Like, how did you?
I wouldn't say Christian rabbi. That's not nice.
All right, fine, a rabbi. That's because you grew up Reform.
I didn't grow up Reform. I grew up conservative.
I grew up Reform.
In Canada, you grew up conservative.
So that's conservative.
That's like Orthodox. I grew up California Reform. Yeah,
it was absolutely conservative when I was growing up.
For sure.
Free membership at a synagogue after the age of 95.
I think that was pretty much everything.
Almost made it. He was 94. He was looking forward to it. But he says, "What am I going to do with it when I'm 95?"
When he was 60. So you've had this amazing career so far. So what was the defining moment in your life that allowed you to be successful when things were really challenging and allowed you to constantly drive and overcome these obstacles?
I had this crazy insight yesterday. I was driving. I like cars, and whenever I talk to people in the financial world, they're always like, "Oh, you're such an idiot," and could be I am. So I listened to, and I was like dead broke. And I remember listening to, there's a speech by a guy named Eric Thomas that talks about, he says this amazing line. He says that, I was homeless for 2 years. So I don't really hurt that much anymore because I've gone through a lot of stuff. And I just remember like, it was one of those pause frames. I'm sitting there with my daughter who's 16, and she and I have kind of a rough go of it. And she's gone through like a lot herself. And she's, thank God, like, I'm so impressed by her. And it completely broke all the scripts. And like, I'm like beyond proud for her. And I'm sitting there in this, beautiful Porsche Turbo, and I'm sitting there in Scottsdale, Arizona, in the middle of the winter, and I'm driving it, whatever, swap out one car for another one, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm listening to self-development. I listened to Eric Thomas when I was young and I was broke and I had nothing and I was too fat to find a girl, and all I wanted to do is have a girlfriend and get married and like be this, and like and it's I was crying because it's like when you're he says that when you're ready to succeed, like you want to breathe and you can't get that breath, that's when you're going to start to be successful. And I think that it's more just like, I look at the challenges that I've had and I've gone through in my life, and the ability to use that pain to fuel other people and to fuel like the people that I'll work with, and all the mistakes I just made. It's such a stupid business decision that cost me tons of money. And I'm like fired up because like I can talk about it. I can tell people about it. I'm like, don't do this. And if everything that I do could serve other people and I can like be a part of that process, like it's the greatest opportunity for me.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Jacob, how can people find you? How can people get in contact with you? How can people sign up for your coaching and get coached to coach?
So I'm hopefully spent quite a while building on social media. So look on any social media channels, Jacob Rupp, rupp-group.com is my website. But hopefully I should be fairly easy to find. This is great. This is awesome.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for coming on. But the most important takeaways that we're seeing on this is that, and the reason why we brought Jacob on is Jacob built businesses and made a lot of money doing something without having to throw money into it, using the intellectual capital that we all have, that you all have, and being able to deploy that to actually build a business and actually build a lifestyle. And it's super crucial for people. Like that's how we started in financial services. We never went like, oh, let's invest all this money to build something. And that's how we built our success. And that's how many people can build success. But once you get to the point of serious success, it's learning how to scale that to the next level. And that's what really is important, is understanding how to scale that so you get to the $1 million a month or $2 million a month of income. And a lot of it actually will turn into being passive. So the main thing is starting your business, building your businesses, and then scaling it is really the hardest part. But
I would say what you were saying before is that, you have no choice at the beginning. You're broke. You have no money. You have to figure it out. You don't have a choice to do it. It's later on now when you have the money that, oh, now I can go and waste it. And you don't have that same focus that you did before when you had no money and you had to just figure it out by crook or hook or crook, whatever you want to say. But later on, oh, I've got all this money. Let me throw
the thing that I always loved working with like entrepreneurs and for myself, and like I think that mentality of like I can do it, you only, like you said, you only get it when you have that, and again, like as you grow, a lot of times you might get not as scrappy, which is why I love working with like people that are getting started, because a lot of times you might be like, okay, it's going to be hard for me to get my hands dirty. And I had someone I was working with on LinkedIn, and she was like, what's your secret? And I was like, I will always get my hands dirty. If the floor needs mopping, I'll mop that floor, and I don't care. And so it's like, being able to keep that sense of like, I remember I had a client in the executive coaching space that I was doing, and like he had literally gone broke 4 times, and he was like looking with I was working with him around COVID. And he's like, oh crap, and he was in real estate, and he was like, oh crap, this is gonna be really bad. And I was like, of all the people on earth that can build it again, it's you. And his business did go down a tremendous amount, and now he's making probably 10 to 15 times at the business at his peak, because he pivoted and he built something else. But it's because, again, he's an immigrant to this country. He came with nothing. He built it all. He lost it multiple times. And if that's your skill set, it's like, drop me somewhere in the world and I'll be successful.
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. It's a beautiful thing. But thank you everybody for listening. Jacob, thank you for coming on. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And everybody, we hope you took something away from this podcast.
Such a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next one, everyone.
Thanks, guys.